What is up everyone, it's TK and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you some super witch attacks and see if this strategy is still viable. So let's dive in and see some of my attacks. Firstly, let's look at this base right here. So what I'm gonna do is to try to have a nice warden walk on the right hand side because they got a right hand side archer tower in this rage tower. So we're gonna try our best to drop that fireball on it or just around it. The fireball thing is, it doesn't matter exactly where it has to go unless it gives you a nicer funnel or a bigger value, but something like this area, if it hits the bomb tower, it's still beautiful. If it hits the archer tower, it's still amazing. If it hits the inferno, it's still good. So just make sure you don't miss on hitting those buildings. And obviously, the strategy is a bit different now. We got some Valkyries that you can help to deploy to go in either with your super witches, or you can kind of divide them between super witches and your RC drop. Now, going with the Valkyries, of course, I have some funnel troops and the queen with the giant arrow from the top side just to get some healers behind our troops on the funnel. And now we're going in with the king. Of course, if there is a hero, go with that early headhunter, going with the wall breaker, and then you can have the king having access to the core with a jump spell. Obviously, I would suggest you to jump into the core if it's like a 2-layer wall, so you don't need to deploy that wall breaker. And I just wasted it basically. So that would be for that little tip right there. So now you can see the Valkyries coming out of my siege barracks is gonna help my queen on the outside. Now pop the king ability whenever you feel like it's the best area to divide everything, and if the king will start moving weirdly, pop it earlier so he doesn't go out of the core and then you're kind of stuck there with a very bad ability with the earthquake. This is why now we have that rage spell, which is kind of triple rage in this army, which one of them you may use with the warden, one of them you are going to use at the beginning of the attack when you're diving into the base so the healers can catch up, and one of them is usually after you took down this core town hall, or your super witches are generally in the core so they can keep being alive. And you can see how we deployed the RC to funnel and get those troops keeping in the core, and just in general something that the queen couldn't reach, the RC can always reach. So it's good to have her by the queen's side to help your army out. Let's move on to the second hit. Now onto the second hit, I have this double poison further away town hall from the base basically. So not a core, but also not a very diamond-ish base. I want to show you a box base that is still kind of, I would say, risky to go for the opposite side of the town hall. Now I'm gonna have a wizard on the top side to help and speed up my warden walk. Of course, let me show you the equipments that I'm running, and none of them, like, sometimes they're not maxed on this account that I'm using, so it's a more, I would say, less pay account. So I pay a lot less on this one, just maybe gold passes, so I can keep having these abilities a bit more regularly on the epic version, so I can bring you videos showing that it doesn't matter if you have like lower level abilities as well. Now with the fireball, we went and got a nice value, going with some Valkyries, headhunter, and basically starting the attack, popping the queen giant arrow. And the good thing is, if you sometimes miss a building, for example that archer tower, with your warden ability, and if it's a bit more deeper in the core, you can pop that queen ability to finish it off. Now my queen is gonna get a bit cooked here by double ricochet cannons, which is really bad, but what can I do, man? I mean, the Frosty did very well to keep that queen alive. Now, soon you can see the king going to the core. I'm gonna add the RC to help the queen, and also we have the those Valkyries coming from the siege barracks. Again, once you see the king has a beautiful access to everything, pop that ability, get the core open, and look, we still got another rage. As I told you, is for the witches in the core. As always, king may take down the town hall, and if he doesn't, we got the RC for the support and no Giga Bomb or Giga Poison on that town hall. So we're just gonna kind of run through it, and you can see how we went opposite side of the town hall and still managed to get this base done. So the strategy, I would say, is still very viable, even though of course a lot of people are using the RC charge right now, or a lot of spam attacks on the ground or on the air, kind of like myself, you know, because it's just the strongest. But if you are kind of bored with it, if you want to show your skill more often, and if you want to just switch around the strategies, this would be one of those top strategies that is still viable. But let's move on to our third hit. Let's see one of the most common bases in Legends League right now, and these are the easiest with this strategy. If you ever struggle with these ones, this strategy might be the one for you. Now what you need to do is to drop the Warden ability on the Inferno Tower, not necessarily the Spell Tower. The Inferno Tower would be fine to take out that entire area. Don't forget the one Coco Loon at the beginning so the healers don't get cooked. Now you're gonna go in with the witches and you can see how quickly this is. No Warden walks, no nothing. That one giant is always good to tank for your siege barracks, so the expo doesn't lock onto the siege barracks building. Now you can see soon I'm going to, with that queen ability, to activate the invisibility tower, going with some Valkyries on the top side. We do have a few Valkyries on the lower side. Of course, it's a bit more damagey on the lower side, so make sure you wall breaker, you invest a few things, the baby dragon. You may even need to invest your RC because that is a Tesla farm and a lot of skellies. Your RC will get through it very nicely. If you have even lower ability on the electro boots, it doesn't matter, it will still be fine. And now going into the core, that is the second rage I told you about. We're gonna dive into the core and pop the king ability again whenever you are looking for that value of the earthquake boots. Okay, we got everything, and now the base is a bit edited, so there is closed walls here and the core was a bit different, so the super witches are gonna get stuck a bit. But look, we got so many troops. We still got the queen and RC, we still got the warden, the king is still tanking beautifully. And notice I'm doing some cleanup on the left hand side so we don't time fail, even though we had no warden walk. But it's always good to clean up whenever you drop something around an area or whenever you are going past that area. And for example, the king started tanking that wizard tower. I did drop my 2 goblins on that gold storage and absolutely shredding and crushing this base throughout the middle. And you can see the power of this strategy. If there is no spell towers that is going to negate them, like I don't know, double rage, and you have no access to one of the rages to drop the warden ability, you know, obviously this strategy is super good. But we're going to move on to our final hit. Now let's move on to a diamond base. So I brought you every style of base with every single one of the spell towers. We had a lot of the variety of bases, so you can take the ideas of where to deploy your troops and your warden walk or quick warden ability, which on this case, these bases, a lot of people think you need to get that rage tower or the core or a side. Well, I'm gonna see these 3 major defenses that are close to each other, so I see that weakness of the base which they put out for us. You can obviously go for that warden, you know, fireball on the ricochet cannon. That would even give you more values. At the time I wasn't thinking of this, so I went with this one. If you put it on the ricochet cannon, you would even get the right expo. But if you have good earthquake placements, that is important too. Sometimes it may not reach, it's too far, but still we got the nice value. And now the funnel is set. This is not about the crazy fireball values, it's about funneling, and we did have a nice funnel on the lower side. So now we're gonna have the troops dive into this area with a jump to the core or a wall breaker to the core, depending on the base and how the walls are set up for you. Unfortunately, I didn't get to activate that invisibility tower, which is really bad, but still we're gonna go into it. Now my wall breaker is gonna make it absolutely beautifully. Now watch out for the ricochet cannons. If you need to freeze for your queen to stay alive, make sure you do. We got triple ice golem, which is the worst for this strategy, and we're gonna see how I'm going through it. Obviously there's gonna be popping one by one. The warden is cooking my own warden, and I saw it quite late, so when I went with the freeze, my warden was dead. Notice I have Valkyries from the top side, the queen is still alive, popping that king ability. Once I notice witches are going down and queen is gonna be alone, I'm gonna go with the RC to help the queen out on the top side to take down that entire base. And the witches again came to the lower side. That one last rage, as I told you, whenever you open the base, notice where your witches go, then start deploying your spells for them if necessary. Now you can see heroes alive, unfortunately with my warden, but this base is, man, crushed, absolutely crushed. We didn't get a crazy value, it was just a beautiful set funnel for our troops to dive into the base. And as I said, this strategy is still viable and very, very strong if you're looking for switching, if you're looking to have some nice war attacks, or you're doing some tournaments and the other RC charge strategies are not working for you. Well, it's time to switch to super witches. I think this strategy will still be common even for the next update that will be coming very soon, and hopefully we will somehow have information basically in the near future. And let's see what the game has brought to us, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you soon tomorrow. Take care and peace.